got the magic.
It almost seems like for some of these like indie devs or like a double
you're such a
dev.
His pitch was perfect, though.
Welcome to the Good Enough Gaming Podcast, where four elder millennials talk all things gaming and nerdy. We dive into all shows, games, movies that we indulge in. We celebrate our favorites and talk shit about the duds along the way. I'm your host, Kyle. I'm joined by Jordan, Trevor, and Daryl. A new challenger has hit the scene. Can you handle the heat? You got to be a real gunslinger and challenge that full metal alchemist to get through this well-engineered game. The game that has recently invaded your feed and got you begging for a medic on a wild hunt. And that's none other than Remnant 2. We summon you to join us this week and explore all of what Remnant 2 and the rise of all these Souls-like games have in store for us and all of you out there. Archon with the show.
Oh. It was the only tough one. Come on.
Oh, man.
I just want to clarify,
Did my best.
those are all the classes, right?
A
Yes.
lot of the classes, yeah.
Yeah.
Full metal alchemist.
I just was like, I'm putting that in there. I don't care.
Yeah. No, I applaud you, Daryl. That was some good ones to fit in there.
I mean, you're the writer. You're allowed to put in whatever the fuck you
Yeah.
want.
I'm going to do whatever I want.
Kyle has
Of
to just read the teleprompter, right?
I'm Ron
I'm Ron
Burgundy.
Burgundy.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
So
Oh,
now that
boy.
we're done with quoting Anchorman, we
We'll
are,
never be done.
For now.
Yeah.
for this current session, we are talking about Remnant 2 and all like the rise of Souls-like games, which is games that are fucking hard, don't give you a lot of instruction, and just send you on your way. This obviously came up from, the success of Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Bloodborne, Sekiro, Elden Ring, the big one. Yeah.
Oolong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All of these games have one thing in common is that they're punishingly hard. They give very little instruction, and you just got to figure shit out for yourself.
Have fun.
Yeah. The most recent is a sequel from Remnant. Shit, what was the subtitle of Remnant? The first one?
From the ashes.
From the Ashes.
Ashes.
This just went with Remnant 2, which is a third-person shooter that follows sort of Souls-like design and goes through several different sort of worlds and gives you the opportunity to explore and solve a stupid amount of puzzles and hidden map areas. It's crazy. Right now, I believe Jordan and I are the only ones that have played it. Trevor and Daryl have heard all about it and have heard Jordan and I singing its praises and bitching about difficulties at the same time.
Uh-huh.
But we're gonna take a look into that today, and then sort of branch out as well into the future of Souls-like games and where things are going. So,
Nice.
Trevor, Daryl, you guys, I know you guys are taking a bench seat today, but please feel free to chip in with questions, comments, concerns, witty anecdotes,
I have so many
anything you want
questions.
to.
I have so many questions.
Don't worry, I'll be sure to give my parts that you don't run away with just talking nonstop the entire episode. I got you. I'm here to keep you in check, Kyle.
Yeah.
Yes, as I've
Perfect.
been known to do. So this game, I would almost call this a treasure trove game from Jordan. He sang its praises early, and I was sort of like, well, I could probably get involved with this.
Turns out
Initially,
fucking right.
I know. Initially, I didn't know how I felt about it. I was like, oh, it's just another like generic third-person shooter kind of deal. And then I started playing more and more and thinking about it and thinking about it some more. And then my TikTok started to fill with more.
It's addicted.
My
Would you say
TikTok
this-
started to fill with more Remnant like clips.
It took
was
over
like,
the internet.
Yeah.
I don't even play it, and I haven't really talked about it, and
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
everywhere. It's doing the same thing
Is it
that
Elden Ring?
Elden Ring did. Like
Yeah.
it is taking over the internet. That
What's-
Baldur's Gate
It's so
It
funny.
would-
took over.
Because Elden
Yeah.
Ring, Remnant 2, and Baldur's Gate just hit that mark where they're like, here is an entire game that you paid for. Here's the game.
Bingo.
And everyone was
There
like,
it is.
fuck yes, I will play the shit out of
Thank
that,
you.
please. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no microtransactions. Zero.
Nothing.
It came out
Nothing.
polished.
Yeah.
I don't
Hey, developers.
I haven't
Here's a wild idea. I don't even play this game, and I applaud it, and I would give it 2 thumbs up because guess what? There are other classes, and you can unlock them in the game.
yes.
They're there. They're built in. You just have to play and unlock it. Holy shit! And people love it.
How
Wow.
fucking weird is that?
This is 1995,
What a shock.
Daryl? What do
Yeah.
you speak of?
And
the amount
year
of
is
times
it?
we've talked about that ad nauseum with other
Oh.
games, like to actually get
Painful.
it in practice with something is
Wonderful.
Fuck, it is so
Yeah.
nice.
And the cool part too is it's not just like beat the game and unlock new classes. It's
No.
do these specific things. Like today I unlocked the alchemist class, which
Cool.
you have to like in this one section, there's some broken sort of sewer grates. And this is a random event. You
Yeah.
get pulled in by this sewer monster
Sick.
and you have to kill it, and it drops this item that you take to this
It
to
drops
an
full metal.
NPC.
Yeah.
I had to fight a Ninja Turtle to unlock the alchemist. That's what it said.
Yeah, so you bring this random item in, and it's like, oh yeah, here's this oh shit, what's it called? Engram. And you can now be an alchemist. You can now
Sick.
do this class. There's one class that was included with the pre-order that I'm really upset that I haven't gotten yet. Because you need to like beat 3 worlds or something. The
you can still get
gunslinger
it,
class.
You
Yes,
can
you
But you
get
can still
it.
get it.
Important.
Yeah.
You can
Wonderful
still get
thing
it.
in design.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Can you?
Chef's
So I have a
kiss.
question. I do have a question. Can you switch classes like mid game? It's not like Elden
Yes.
Ring,
Yes.
where you like. I mean, Elden Ring you can respec at any time, but you
Yeah.
start as this. But like, is there like a big difference between the classes?
So,
Or, like,
so this is all experience based. So you start off
Oh.
with one class out of 4 if you pre-ordered. There's 10 total classes in the game, and I think it's after either the first or second world. Once you've progressed the story a little bit further, you get to open up a subclass slot. And so if you've found any other classes in the game, it doesn't matter any of them that you want. You can throw that in as a subclass, and
Wicked.
then your experience is now split in half between the two.
oh, I need to buy
And
this
so-
game
That's dope.
right now.
Every class has 10 levels, and as you increase that level, you'll either unlock a new ability, or it's got
Traits.
it's got traits, and each trait has 10 levels. And so as you upgrade that class, the traits will get better and better.
Yeah.
So it's like
and-
old school
traits are
Final
almost like-
Fantasy.
Paragon system.
Okay, but it's
I
like
would
old
say.
school Final Fantasy and like Skyrim combined. Like you
Yeah.
earn experience based on what you use.
Yeah, like the class,
Yeah. That's so good.
the class trait. When you find like, so there are knowledge points that you can find in the world. Those knowledge points you can slot into traits, but the class traits you can't put points into. You can only increase those levels by having that class equipped.
Yeah,
So
gotcha.
you
Oh,
just
so
have
it's like
to
Strangers of Paradise.
yeah, you just have to kill things as that class to level up that trait.
Yeah.
And like some of them are legitimately like game changing. Like I've got one right now where my minions, I've got it fully leveled up. My minions absorb 5% of all incoming damage. That hits me. They absorb 5%.
Sick.
Like against bosses and stuff. That's a fucking game changer.
Yeah, so I've been playing like a challenger class, which is like tank class. Yeah.
Smart.
And I just unlocked the secondary. I didn't choose alchemist. The other one, I think it was hunter.
It's the
Or
best.
Fighter?
there's one where you get like a dog pet.
Hunter.
Yeah. So I have a dog pet now as a tank, and this dog can come and revive me.
Yeah.
Oh, sick.
Oh, sweet. It's like the
Yeah.
dog
Yeah.
from Fallout.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
it's like dog meat.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. My primary, I started as hunter just because basically anytime a game allows me to have a dog companion, I'm like, okay, yep, sign me up.
Do you name it Bender every time?
If I could name this dog in the game, yes, he would be named Bender. So that was my primary, and then I did summoner when I found that as a puzzle.
You just wanted lots of friends.
Yeah, so like now I've got my dog, but I can also summon two like root. The enemy in this world for the most part is the root. I can summon two of those minions to help me. So now I've got
like the
three
little
minions.
hedgehog balls.
So you can do the hedgehog balls. You can do the like tentacle flying enemy.
Oh, flying enemies, great.
And then the last one, if you level up the class all the way, is like that giant tank rock like tree creature. You can have a tank be your minion if you want to.
So, Trevor, I was going to tell you, one of the enemies in this game, in this one area that's kind of sort of like foresty. Do you remember that campy horror movie Critters?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Like the little fuzzy.
So they're like,
what a throwback.
Giant versions of those with like bright red spines coming out the back. It's like Critters hedgehogs.
Yeah.
That's immediately what came to mind for me because they will annoy you too.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the time you're fighting like fruits and vegetables.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
This is a weird version of VeggieTales, I tell you what.
Yeah, so
what difficulty are you guys playing on?
So I'm just doing normal.
Just normal.
I'll be honest with you, it's hard enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Shout out to my buddy Eric. The only thing I've watched of this game like live in person was my buddy Eric Selson. I watched him play, and he is only playing it on Nightmare. Like he's
one of those.
That would be so tough. I could maybe attempt that difficulty in a group if there was. So there's 3-player co-op. I could maybe attempt it there, but as a solo player, there's no way that I could beat this game in Nightmare. No way.
So I think I'd asked you guys this. So there's not like a duck and cover system. This isn't like Metal Gear Solid.
No, it's not like Gears of War.
Or Gears of War. Sorry, that's what I was thinking of. Do you have like a melee attack at all, or is it only guns?
Yes, you get a melee weapon, and they are interchangeable. I started out with like a 2-handed, like it looks like a chainsaw greatsword that was made out of like junkyard parts.
Yes,
but you can unlock a ton of different things,
and they're just as good.
Yeah,
most of them get better.
Yeah. All of the weapons in this, all of them are viable, which is crazy.
Oh, that's good.
It's kind of a breath of fresh air instead of being like you have to go with this. You have to go with this meta to be successful. It's like no, if you upgrade your weapons enough, if you use them right, like I have right now, I have like essentially like an auto shotgun that I'm using as my main, and like a machine pistol as my secondary. And I've been using them since the start.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just for like lack of finding other stuff, but I've also like leveled them up significantly, and they still fuck.
That's
like
nice.
So they're doing it.
Yeah, it is.
This game
nice
definitely has the best feelings of Elden Ring to me, where like there is such rewarding progression, and to like go off the beaten path, do it. If you find an optional dungeon, do it. Because if you finish that, not only are you going to probably run into a cool boss that you would have otherwise missed, but also beating it, you're going to get a worthwhile piece of gear, whether it's like the thing I like is the armor in this game. You get an entire set. So when you find armor, it's not just you find a helmet, you get the entire helmet, chest piece, legs, gloves. You get all 4 of them right off the hop, and then you can interchange them with other pieces based on what weight class you kind of want to fall into.
And like resistances and stuff too.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So like it rewards your time very well to like I said, I had Elden Ring vibes with that, where everything I did that was secondary to the main campaign, I felt was worth my time. And some of the puzzles are very difficult to solve, but if you get them, it's going to give you either a crazy good weapon. Like I found a secondary gun that was made out of like futuristic like rock parts. And
is that the cube gun?
No, it's different. It looks similar though. But it shoots electrical currents. And those electrical currents chain to other enemies when they're within range.
It's a chain
So
like
that
that.
turned,
Oh my god.
Yeah, so like that turned into my mob gun. So when I had a mob of like 5 or 6 enemies come at me, I pull that out and now I can shoot one, but I'm going to do damage to all 6. And I used that secondary gun for my entire playthrough because it was that beneficial to me. And if I didn't go off the beaten path and try and, do the side stuff, I wouldn't have ever unlocked that gun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I asked. It's funny because I was like asking about like melee weapons and like cover. The issue that I always find with any story-based shooter game, like doesn't matter if it's first person or third person, is without like a dodge roll mechanic and without a melee weapon, you always end up in these scenarios where you're literally just like backpedaling and shooting. Like it doesn't.
You do that a lot. You
like,
do that so.
Oh, okay. Because that was just my question. But it sounds like you can choose not to do that as much.
Yes.
Right. Like
yeah.
This
there's so many
game
games that just don't do that well. Where you're like the only way to survive is literally to just back up and hope you have good aim.
Well, that was my issue with the first Remnant. I dropped off the first Remnant after about 8 hours. And it was because of that. The difficulty spike was nuts. And the game puts you into so many situations where they just bum rushed you with enemies. And there wasn't enough in your repertoire to be able to handle that. And whereas like in this game, the melee weapon is actually viable. To Kyle's point, and like his build is centered around melee stuff.
Yeah.
And then
up close and personal.
A lot of the abilities that you'll find that are either class-based abilities or abilities that you can attach to weapons also make a huge impact. So like I have a semi-automatic rifle that shoots like Night Stalker ghost bullets.
Cool.
But it's semi-auto. But the ability that's tied to it when I activate that is I turn into a wraith and I go full cloak mode. And the gun turns into a fully automatic assault rifle and there's no ammo.
Oh, so just infinite. Yeah, just keep shooting.
Yeah, so I've got like a 15-second window. If I get in a terrible spot or if I'm really low on health against a boss and I've got that ability prepped, I'm going to hammer that. I can clear out every mob of enemy in that time frame. And then being cloaked, I'm going to take a lot less damage too. Yeah. So like those abilities they've added in this game has made a lot of my issues in the first Remnant kind of mute in this one.
And like on top of that, there's a lot of like customization potential in this too. Like I've found that like you can customize like a mod on your gun and a mutation. So like the mutation gives you a buff and the mod gives you an extra ability. So like on my shotgun, I can shoot like a healing globe that will heal an ally or myself. So I shoot it out and it'll sit there until someone runs over it. Cool. I've added like an electrical, like a slow moving electrical ball to my my machine pistol, where like it just moves out slowly and zaps everyone that's close by it and stacks. Oh, so there's and you can build mods, you can upgrade them. there's a lot of potential for customization in this that's beyond like stat fucking, basically, where you're, you know, like Diablo, where you're trying to like pinpoint
Get
max,
the
get the
There's
right
a lot,
roll,
there's a
get
lot
the
less min-maxing in this, which
Okay,
I
yeah.
appreciate.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more along the lines of Elden Ring, where they give you the mods to really make it the way that you want to play, and then
Yes.
you can kind of maximize it based off of how that
Yeah,
works
that's all right.
for you.
I gotta like that. Yeah, I
One
can
and
appreciate
some
that.
mods would be better with a specific type of gun,
that
you
makes
know,
sense.
or like some bosses.
Is there a bonus to like the right gun with the right class? Because
So most of the
Like
boss level
efficiencies?
weapons have the mod already attached. So like the most powerful guns in the game, you can add a mutation, or I might be getting those mixed up. You can add a mod, but the mutation is locked. So like that Nightcrawler rifle that I have, that mutation is locked. That Wraith ability I can't change. But I can add a mod that like stacks damage if I aim down sights for 5 seconds. Or
I think you got
something
it
like
flipped.
that.
Okay, but that skill,
like, so if you're a medic and you pick up that weapon, like, is it more effective as a medic or is it more effective as an alchemist, or does that matter at all? Can everybody pick up every weapon?
Matters.
It doesn't really matter. I mean, you can use most weapons regardless of class. There are a lot of different traits in the game, though, that are more important to specific classes.
Yeah.
So, like the one I was talking about, that my minions can absorb damage. Obviously, if Kyle had that trait unlocked, but he's not using a summoner class, it would be a waste of time for him to put points into that class, because he's not going to have minions running around with him.
But the kind of cool thing about the traits too is that you can find extra traits that get added to your guy. I did some random side quests talking to like some forest fairy, answering their questions about things. And by the end of it, I was like, I'm going to answer these all a certain way, like a greater good sort of way. And by the end of it, they gave me a trait that got included on my character.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
So the cool thing about this game, and we kind of missed it at the start, and I think why so many people have jumped on it at launch, is this game is procedurally generated. And I mean that in the sense that, like, Kyle and my playthrough has been completely different. There's, I think,
it's random at the beginning, right? Like,
there's 4 or 5 worlds in the game, but when you start a new campaign, it's randomly rolled at the start. So, you know, you will all eventually play those same worlds, but like my starting world was completely different from Kyle's.
Yeah.
And then I think even the bosses that you'll find in certain dungeons and in certain worlds can also be randomized too. So your experience is going to be completely different, but they've also gone even further where specific quests and specific item drops won't happen in each playthrough.
No. And
I bet the guide writers fucking love that.
Oh my God. Man, I was watching one because I was stuck on this one quest where you have to like pick who betrayed a king.
Okay.
And I watched the guide. The guide said it was one person, but you have to look on this knife that you find. You have to inspect it and see the symbol and match it to the person
Jeez.
that did it. I was like, mine was not the same as the video that I watched.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of nice, though. It kind of like makes you pay attention and be like, well, there's a guide, but it only half works. Like, it's not really.
Yeah. I looked at a couple for puzzles and it was the same thing. It was either like a combination or like a glyph thing that I had to do in a specific order. It's like, well, the video I watched online is not the same as what I ended up having to do on mine. So like it does kind of prevent people from cheating the system a little bit, which I can respect. Yeah. You know, it also adds replayability too. Like there's certain guns and items that I want that I'm not going to be able to get in my first playthrough because of the way that my world was rolled at the start. So I'm either going to have to make things really confusing, you can either re-roll a world in what they call adventure mode. So it doesn't reset the entire campaign, it just resets that world.
Oh, so you can like go and find shit? Yeah.
Yeah, so like you can go in and be like, okay, well, I need this specific quest to trigger, but it's not going to trigger in my world, so I need to re-roll that. But you're going to keep your campaign intact.
That's kind of nice.
Yeah. So it gives people the option if you only want to do like one traditional playthrough, and then just re-roll specific dungeons and worlds to get the gear that you want to get.
Yeah.
Like it gives you the choice. So
that's good, because I was just wondering, like, do you have to make multiple characters to get certain things? Like, that seems kind of like a bust.
They definitely kept that in there if you want to try different classes and do like multiple playthroughs for those like really intense guys. But if you're like, well, I'm working towards a specific build, or like this specific gun I really want to use, I saw it in a video, but my world didn't roll that quest. Well, rather than restarting my campaign from scratch, I can just re-roll that world after beating it.
Gotcha.
And then I can go back in and just focus on that one item that I want to get.
Just really opens it up.
Yeah.
This is like literally probably one of the most well thought out games in a lot of ways. The amount of like secret paths and oh my god, dude, like it's crazy how much you can miss.
Yeah.
Like just
the amount of random shit that you're talking about, where you're like, I went to this place and this guy happened to have this thing. And it's just like, it seems so wild to me. Like very, very much along like Elden Ring, where it's like, if you pay attention when you talk to people and you go, like, there's these like little hidden side quests that you can do that will get you some potentially good gear. Like not always, but it'll give you something cool. Right.
I was in a labyrinth world made out of rock, and Kyle will know what I'm talking about. There's one section where you get to a portal. Every 5 seconds, the image you see through the portal changes. So basically, the portal is changing the landing spot every 5 seconds. And if you pay attention to what's happening in that portal and you time it properly, you can actually drop through to completely different sections of that map that are inaccessible any other way. But if you time it right and you do it, you've got either a new melee weapon to pick up, or you've got like a new gear piece that's going to have a great buff that you can use. So like that's what I mean.
Platform.
Or it fucks you and it's got a fallen platform.
That one got me.
Yeah. You know, so like it really does reward exploration. And that's that Elden Ring vibe thing for me. And Daryl, you'll appreciate this from a like loot and customization side. The mods that you can attach to weapons completely changes the visual of the gun.
That's pretty
so really? like I showed you guys, I think really early on in my playthrough, I had an assault rifle gun that just looked like a shitty rusted piece of junk from the old world. But then I added a mod that added rot damage, and it makes my gun look like a gun that Groot would use. Like it made, completely fabricated out of wood pieces, and like it looks like a completely different weapon.
It's funny because of all the games we've talked about, that reminds me the most of Biomutant.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not.
What's the hitbox like? Because obviously it's a shooting game primarily. So like, does the hitbox like Call of Duty specific? Is it like a Destiny kind of forgiving hitbox?
Like Destiny is a good one to compare to. Yeah. There's certain guns that have more accuracy needed. Kyle, I think you just found a bow, right?
Yeah, I found a hunting bow because I did some puzzle. Yeah, which goes really well with my
I got a
tank
rock.
class.
Yeah, so like guns like that,
yeah.
you definitely need accuracy for. But if you just want to like spray and pray with a machine gun or like Kyle's automatic shotgun, and then use
God,
a
it's so
melee
money.
build, yeah.
What so
can do
like
that.
in terms of difficulty though, because this is a Souls like game.
Yeah.
Like what's your average survivability like time frame with your character?
It varies, man. Like sometimes it could be that you get like overwhelmed with enemies and you just like get fucked up. But I would say it's more forgiving than Elden Ring in that like
Yes.
you don't have souls that you lose that you have to get back. It's just like shoots you out of the crystal where you like the last checkpoint crystal, and then you have to start again. It's like
so like Kyle definitely brings up a great point. And that was one of the things that kind of hooked me in with this game to take more chances and to explore a little bit more. Is that if I die, I don't have a wallet of experience that spills out Sonic style, and I've got to go collect my rings afterwards. Like, if I die, I die, and that's fine. I don't have to repair gear. I don't have to go collect lost souls. Like, it's fine. You know, so it definitely allows you to try different builds, different weapons. You know, like I equipped the hunting bow when I got it because I was like, this is fucking sick. And then I ended up going into a boss fight and I'm like, this is not okay. This is the worst weapon.
This is not sick. This is not good.
Terrible idea. And so I immediately died. And I like, in another Souls game, I'd be pissed off because I just lost all my currency.
Yeah.
But in this, I'm like, oh, well, that's fine. I'll just equip my other gun and I'll go back in and do the boss fight again. So for me, I've really only died in boss fights. And if I died in the game world, it was because I did something stupid. Like it was my own fault. And you learn from it. So it's it feels rewarding that way. It's hard, but not unfair.
I will say too, all the boss fights I've done so far have felt unique. Like they haven't felt like the same, just here's you in an arena, run around in circles and shoot the boss. There's dynamic events to it that force you to make adjustments and changes, which I really, really like.
That's pretty good
so
for a
it doesn't
game.
feel so monotonous.
Yeah.
It's not like Diablo where you're running nightmare dungeons, killing the same Tomb Lord over and over and over.
Yeah. Well, I just think even any shooting game where you're like run in a circle, hit the crit point until something happens, maybe. Or just keep running in a circle, avoiding damage, right? Like this
is a lot more dynamic.
Yeah, like this doesn't feel like The Division, where it's like, hit headshots continually on the boss until he dies, and it's going to take you 20 minutes to do it. Like this game, there's a lot more thought where the weak point on a boss might be his head, but the next boss you fight, it could be his chest, it could even be his back. So you have to let him charge you, dodge out of the way, and then you've got to shoot his back to get crits. Or you've got to like break a piece of armor off to expose a weak point, and then you can hammer on that. So like, to Kyle's point, there's a lot more variety in terms of how you have to kind of tackle a fight, which is really nice.
Sweet.
So speaking of variety, we're going to take a quick segment break into this week's episode of Dad Reviews. Dad Review. All right. Welcome back to another episode of Dad Reviews. Obviously, I can't bring up Remnant 2 because we've literally just been talking about it for the last half hour.
What a surprise.
This one, usually I go through and talk about a game that you can play as a dad, that you can play in short stints or mobile games and that sort of thing. This week's falls into the latter category, which is a mobile game that eats up all your time, where you don't have to pay attention to play so much. This is the dumbest fucking game I've ever played, but I've really enjoyed for some reason, just like scratches an itch in my brain. It's called Golden Goblins. And what it is, you are trying to progress through mines by hiring and leveling goblins to basically mine different areas, and you can unlock different gem mining pieces throughout the mine. You progress further through walls. It's fucking stupid, but
but I love it.
So what you're saying,
I'm
what
really
you're saying
enjoying
is
it.
you have to pay the troll toll.
Nice.
It is very much like an ad-based game where you've got the ad pop-ups of like if you want to spin this wheel for 10 minutes of extra time to like progress your mining.
Right.
I got fed up with that, and I put enough time on the game. I was like, fuck it, I'll give the developers $20 to never see an advertisement again.
It was $20.
Gobbling
Boy.
those jewels.
Look at you. The developers are just going, gotcha, bitch.
Yeah, but you know what though? I feel like with the amount that I play, and instead of having to waste time sitting through 2 or 3 minutes of the same bullshit ads that you have to click out of like 5 different times that try and take you to the app store to download that shit.
Kyle's only got 15 minutes on the shitter. He has to utilize this. He can't have 3 minutes of advertisements.
All right, his legs will fall asleep, and he's got stuff to do.
I gotta be efficient.
Kyle's got pooping time here, not ad time.
Yeah, so Golden Goblins, if you want sort of like an idle mining game that is mindless and just scratches some sort of like dopamine itch in your head.
The children, they yearn for the mines.
The goblins. So thank you for joining me on another week of Dad Reviews.
All right.
Also known as Kyle's Poop Adventures.
All right, so we're back to the main sandwich of the episode, which is
the other piece of
games.
bread.
The bread.
It's an open face sandwich. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's a panini.
Okay.
No. Oh, that was a panono.
Oh boy. Christ.
Oh my god.
Apples and bananas.
Yeah. So looking forward, we're looking at Souls-like
yeast
games.
infection.
Oh. At yeast, you could let me talk.
Oh, nice. Okay, I respect that one. That was good.
Yeah. I was bred for this.
Hey, okay.
We don't want to leave sour
That's
dough
why you
in the
get.
podcast.
That's why you get paid the big dough.
Yeah. And I wouldn't rye about something like that.
You need to keep going.
I want to fit pumpernickel in there somewhere, but I just can't find it.
If I had a pumpernickel for every time I heard that one.
I'm surprised you didn't go a different route with that one, Daryl.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Pumpernickel.
back on topic. Pumpernickel for a dime. Cancelled. So we're talking about Souls-like games and the future, what's made them so successful lately, and where they are probably, what releases are coming out that might be worth a look, and why we like them. Obviously, we talked about it with Remnant 2. We also brought up one that we're going to talk about in a future episode, which is not a Souls-like game, but Baldur's Gate 3 and Elden Ring. All of these three had one thing in common, and that's 0 microtransactions and fully developed, which I think is key for a game like this.
Yep.
It should be more. It should be key for everything moving forward. But yeah, it should just be a law at this point. Like when they they cracked down super hard on like Fortnite and all that microtransaction stuff and loot boxes and things like that. And I think that needs to continue because I think it's honestly it ruined a lot of video games,
Absolutely,
and a lot of genres of games. So I would love to see this continue in the future to go back to the original and stop, trying to pilfer the pockets of the people that are.
Oh, that was a good alliteration.
Yeah, that are filling your pockets as it is. They're indulging in your product. Reward them.
Yeah. There's nothing more rewarding for players than being able to just play the game and find unlockables naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want to throw cosmetics in for somebody to buy and spend money on, fuck, whatever, sure.
That was the best part of gaming. In any type of game,
How did you get that character? How did you get that? That's what I mean.
It was everything though. You have to think about back in the old Need for Speed games. You had to progress to get to the better cars at the dealership.
Yeah.
In SSX, you had to continue competing in all the different events to unlock the other characters. In Gauntlet,
Tony
you have to play through the game and beat it to unlock other classes. It's can we just go back to the point where you reward the people for playing the fucking game?
Yeah. Fully formed games, fully planned out games, no day one DLC, no bullshit that you need to buy to continue to play. Fully formed, and I'm seeing articles now. They're these games are causing ripples through the development community because they're doing something different. I was
good.
Fuck,
different?
They should.
That's what games used
to be doing this whole time.
Yeah, exactly. It's gotten to the point now where Baldur's Gate 3 is an anomaly because it's a fully formed game with 100 hours of content without any other purchase needed. You buy the game, you get the whole ass thing.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is you get a lot of these developers that are oh, single player games are dead. They have to all be live service to keep people coming back. And it's well, the best way to have somebody to continue playing your game and to even play the campaign multiple times is give them a fucking reward at the end of it that makes it worth my time. Give them
a reason.
Yeah. Give me a new character to use. Give me a new, piece of gear. Open up a new game mode,
yeah.
There's so many alternatives in these games rather than going the battle pass live service route.
I fucking hate battle passes.
It's so funny because
people are so tired of that shit.
When you say that comment, Jordan, do you want to know what Game of the Year awards have been in the last since 2014?
Single player games.
Dragon Age Inquisition, Witcher 3, Overwatch was the rare one that's a multiplayer game, Breath of the Wild, God of War, Sekiro, Last of Us, It Takes Two, and Elden Ring.
Yeah.
It's Call of Duty is not winning Game of the Year fucking ever. Go away with that shit.
And other than Overwatch, the thing that all of those games have in common is zero microtransactions. There's no game store for you to buy shit in those games. I mean,
at most, I think The Witcher added a couple extra outfits with the DLCs. I think, maybe that's
but that's the thing is if it's cosmetic, then I'm a little bit more okay with it. But Kyle's frustration at the beginning of Remnant 2 was absolutely warranted when we both thought Gunslinger was locked behind pre-order.
No.
If that was the case and that was the only way to get that class, that fucking sucks. Yeah. But no, in this game, you can actually find the Gunslinger class in the world. Yeah. You just need to search for it.
Yeah. Imagine if you were playing Diablo 4 and all the things in the shop that cost a ridiculous amount of money were just world findable items. But just to ensure that you had it, you could spend money on it.
That would be way better.
I would love that.
I'm okay with that.
Think of how psyched you would be if you did a nightmare dungeon and the boss drops an armor set cosmetic. That's one of the ones in the store. Yeah. You would be fucking hyped about that.
You'd be stoked. That, and I think that needs to be the push. if I'm playing your game for hundreds of hours, and a lot of these live service games are just that, are games that take hundreds of hours of your time and involvement, like, what is the point? What's the point of having this shop so you can just continue to gouge the people that have indulged in your game at high levels? But yeah, I digress. Anyways,
Yeah.
I would like to say though,
We've
back
gone
to the
far left
souls.
field.
Back to the souls.
I would like to say though, Souls games in general have been non-predatory games.
Yes.
Yes.
Constantly.
Yeah, and like I think we saw Elden Ring probably being the best example. Is like you explore and you get rewarded for doing that. You could
Oh yeah.
you
Yes.
want to finish the game in 2 hours, like some fucking speedrunner. You go
You
ahead.
can.
You go crazy. You know, no hit, naked, club only run.
Yeah.
You do your thing.
Let me solo her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna go do the 80 dungeons and get all the gear, whether I use it or not.
Just to say you have it.
Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
so I have a list pulled up. There's a couple here that we've talked about. Some I think have come out. Some I think are still pending. So we've got Black Myth Wukong, which is the one where you're kind of like an ape man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It looks incredible.
very
by the way.
martial arts, kind of Sekiro like. One that's come out, I think it's come out, Wolong, not to be mistaken with
Wulong
Wukong.
is out. Yes. Wulong
Yeah,
is
hit
out.
Game Pass
Wolong
Yeah.
is,
earlier this year.
It's sort of mixed with like a Monster Hunter. Is that kind of a? It's got a bit of a touch of Monster Hunter.
It's made by the developers of Neo, so they've got experience in those Souls-like games.
It's
Okay. Right.
friggin'
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
I will
Yes.
tell you, like, it is very difficult.
That one had like some building aspects though, right? Like it just had some different. It did some different
There's some
stuff.
other
Mm.
components to it. I didn't get far enough because I was just like, wow, this is
This is
not like-
complicated.
this is hard.
Yeah.
The battle components were too complicated for me to
There was-
enjoy it.
Yeah.
There was one Jordan mentioned. I believe you tried the demo. Jordan was Lies of P, which is kind of a Bloodborne reskin. Whatever.
Pinocchio game.
Pinocchio.
Yeah.
It's
So-
the closest
so
I'm
weird.
going to get to a Bloodborne sequel right now, and
Yes.
I'm here for it.
I'll take it.
Yeah. And it's Game Pass day one too. So if you got
Oh
Xbox,
really? Oh, that's
fuck,
nice.
Yeah, download it day
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
We've got the not the remaster. It is a reintroduction of Lords of the Fallen. It's gone through redevelopment.
Allow me to reintroduce myself.
Pretty much. I was trying to figure out what was
My
happening
name
with
is
this game.
Fallen.
And Lords of the Fallen went through like 3 different developers, and they're kind of doing a PS5 reintroduction
Sarah.
of it. I think
You're
now
welcome.
that Souls games are a little bit more popular, they're kind of doing
Well,
that.
it's not
You know,
even. I don't even think it's the same developer
No.
that did the original one.
No, they
So,
took a
like,
lot
I
of. I think they
tried
took
Lords
the
of the
IP,
Fallen.
but it sounds like it's been
Yeah.
completely reworked. And from what I've seen, it looks very different. It's
It
just
looks
sort of the.
significantly better than the old one.
It's just sort of like
Yeah.
the backstory and the background of it is kind of what they took, and then
Okay.
they reworked it. So, I'm
Well,
here
and
for
the cool thing with that game too is it's got like the Stranger Things upside down worlds
Ooh.
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
Like there's 2 worlds that are operating on the system.
You use that
side by
lantern
side.
and shift it.
Yeah, and you can shift in between the 2 worlds whenever you
Shit.
want to. Like that mechanic right there opens up puzzles and secret areas and
what's like
Yep.
using
collectible gear if you pay close
What
enough
else, Trev?
attention.
It's like the Sylph Scope
Yeah.
from Pokemon, or what's the one from Ocarina of Time, like the magnifying glass? I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
What else we got? The one they mentioned on here, obviously, that's come out. Jordan, I think, played the shit out of this and beat it. Was the new Jedi Survivor.
Yeah.
Same thing. Very
Really good.
Very Souls heavy, just Star Wars themed.
Yeah.
Here's one I haven't heard of: was Flintlock, Siege of Dawn.
No, I haven't
Sounds
heard of
like
that one.
pirates.
The description I have
Kyle
here.
is intrigued.
Yeah.
The description I have here is it's almost like God of War, but with Dark Souls gameplay.
Oh,
Battle your way through the
interesting.
gods and their armies. It has fluid gameplay, and yeah, it sounds guns, magic, axes, and more.
Oh, Kyle,
Pirate?
Raised eyebrow.
Kyle, Norse.
Yeah.
Since Skull and Bones isn't
Oh,
shit. What was that?
sour.
What was that one that was supposed to come out?
Never gonna happen. It's in development hell at this point.
Yeah, the longest delayed
tell me
game
that.
in history.
Don't tell me that.
We also have Anotria, The Last Song. I haven't heard much about this.
Nope.
It kind of looks like a Fable type game.
It's a Souls-like game, but with like a guitar.
With Guitar Hero.
Something about the.
I mean, some people are beating Elden Ring with the saxophones and the
Yes,
That's true. Yeah, that's
Trombone Hero.
Still the best.
I'm a little rusty, but I could probably get back into it.
Hey.
Whoa now.
Oh fuck.
The other big one I think some of us have heard of would be Project Relic, which is coming from a Korean developer. The only concern I have with that is a lot of the recent Korean ARPGs and stuff like that have been very predatory, if that makes sense. Like you get what was the last
In what way?
Microtransactions.
Dealer's choice.
The only way that video games know how, money.
Yeah.
But I think those are kind of the big ones. I mean, we're still waiting for the Elden Ring DLC at some point.
That was another thing. I was like, is that even happening? Because no offense, but it's taken too long.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like to play.
I think they missed the boat. They missed the window of opportunity there.
Unless they're trying to hit maybe some market where the game's on sale or hits like PS Plus or kind of like Xbox Game Pass, where they're like, you can get this for free, get you in the door, and now we can still make some extra money off of you.
Director's cut.
I agree. I just don't understand the time between the two. But I mean, I'm gonna play it because Elden Ring was so good.
Elden Ring was amazing.
The question I have for you guys, I mean, just Trevor, you reading off of that list and a lot of games that we haven't even heard of. Are we to the point now where the Souls-like genre has like peaked? Like, have we kind of hit the top end of this genre where now there's almost too many games?
I think
Elden they need to do it.
Yeah, I think
Elden Ring peaked it.
I think the problem is right now you've got your main games. So you've got your Elden Ring, Dark Souls, whatever, and maybe a couple other studios doing something similar, like a Jedi Survivor, like very successful.
Right.
But you've got so many of these like copycat games, and like I know there's people that love the game, but I tried to play Mortal Shell, and it was infuriating. It was, to me, it was like, this is so unpolished. It's just not good. And so there's a lot of people trying to hit on that, like trying to get some money off of that and say, oh, we can make a version of that, but they just don't quite have the magic, right?
Got the magic.
It almost seems like for some of these like indie devs or like a double
you're such a
dev.
His pitch was perfect though.
Hey, there you go. It feels like these devs kind of lean to a Souls-like game almost because the combat being slower and chunkier by nature is easier to develop than it is to develop like a Devil May Cry type action game.
Like fast.
Yeah. Like fast, super smooth and fluid. Like, we're going to be playing a game in the next week or so here, Atlas Fallen, that's coming out. Like, it almost seems like developers have shied away from that third-person action game because it's harder to make than a Souls-like.
I think it's also harder to balance because in a Souls-like game, if you you can fix stuff with patches at any time now, but if you make an enemy too strong, your best excuse is get good, right? You're like, well, it's a grind, right? It's a hard game. It's like, well, no, you made this enemy like way too powerful. Like, this isn't, I'm not playing Fable. I'm not playing, some kind of a run-of-the-mill RPG game. But it's just, it's kind of funny where they can kind of get away with, like you're saying, they can get away with a few little things. You're like, this isn't quite the same.
My thing was, because we're seeing so much of this, is the slope of the gaming community changing again? Because growing up for us, retro games like
fucking hard.
Like you know, 16-bit games were fucking difficult. Like to get to the late stages of any game, even Super Mario, was not easy. Like there was a lot of fine tuning, there's a lot of dying, a lot of retrying, and we've talked about this in previous episodes. It's like some of these games are only 2 hours long if you play straight through. Like, but that's not how they were built. Like, they were made for you to struggle and fight through and relearn and retry. Are we coming back to that stage of gaming where it's like everything was too easy and too accessible and too quick to beat and had no replayability and no like sort of challenge? Are the success of these games bringing us back to that state and age of gaming where it's like, no, we have to challenge the gamer. We have to make it difficult. We have to make it so that they have to retry. And there is dying, and there is re-strategizing and rebuilding.
Challenge.
Yeah, but it's funny because now it's becoming the two sides of a coin. You're getting Elden Ring, and then you're getting like farm simulator, like cozy games, right?
Yeah,
right. It's just like
Animal Crossing, and
I think Nintendo Switch. I think the introduction of the Switch has kind of made that shift happen because now
that's fine. They can't play any of these fucking games anyways.
Yeah,
but like the coziness factor of like sitting on the couch under a blanket with your handheld. You just want to play something that's got like a nice soundtrack and that's not very difficult.
You got your Stardew Valley and your whatever that Dream Valley thing is, or whatever.
Oh, the Disney one.
Those games too. You're right, but I just thought I think it's interesting to see the resurgence because we talked like this episode was about the resurgence of this genre because like for the longest time, Dark Souls and Bloodborne, there wasn't a lot like it. That was a true competitor. Yeah. But now we're seeing all of these different styles of game coming close to it, emulating it, patterning their battle system and their game around that. Yeah. And you think in the shift from that 8-bit, 16-bit era of crazy hard games in some regards to the like very accessible, anybody can beat this, even if some of you just might have to put a little bit more time into it, but anybody's going to beat this game kind of like 50-hour playthrough. Done. Yeah. You know, like why do we think this is going back this way? I'm just curious.
I think the big thing now is just like the systems can handle it. Like I think a lot of those games back then were just hard because they're like, well, I want, you have to be really precise because it's like, well, it's only so fine tuned. But now it's like, well, yeah, we could probably go back and play a lot of those Marios and stuff and be better at them because everyone in general is way more versed in video games. Some are still in crazy hard, but that's because it's like pixel perfect, jumping sequences and shit like that. And I was like, okay, well, that was based off the fact that like that was the only way to make the game long. Now they're like, well, now we need to make it challenging because you've got kids with like claw grip, fucking 360 no scope with their eyes closed. That's like, well, we need to make something that's at least challenge. Like people want to be challenged, right? You feel good when you finally beat that boss and you don't spike your controller and break it in half.
I was gonna say like on that point, like like we like the human aspect too. Like people want to have something that they can conquer and feel like they have overcome because the real world that we're living in is kind of shitty right now.
Sucks.
Sorry to be
everything is awful.
Everything's
but like seriously though, like like this is an escape for people to feel like they are bigger and better. Yeah. So overcoming a challenge feels a lot better to them. Like, but like like overcoming Animal Crossing.
Hey, I want to own a farm. I can't afford that shit. My wife would love to own 50 fluffy cows.
Yeah.
I think the other thing too is like the way we consume video games has changed over the years too.
Yeah.
Like, the reason why those 8-bit and 16-bit games were so difficult was because we all rented our games. And so, they wanted to make it difficult enough where you had to rent the game multiple times over the course of 3 or 4 weekends before you could beat it. Whereas now we don't rent games anymore. We put down
buy them digital
price for this stuff. And so it's game share. Well, now it's a lot of games have to be made difficult because I've paid $80 and I want to get X amount of hours out of it to make it feel like I spent my hard-earned money on something that was worth my time.
And I think,
like if you spent $80 on Final Fight for Super Nintendo and you beat that game in 90 minutes,
you'd be pissed. Yeah, you'd be pissed.
Yeah.
You'd be so angry in today's day and age. So I think that's part of the reason why games are getting harder now again.
That reminds me of back in my university years, I worked at a GameStop. In my
my back.
And I think at the time it was like PS3 and a Wolfenstein game came out.
Oh yeah, when they first rebooted Wolfenstein,
and they had a deal that was like, bring it back within 7 days and you can get your full money back if you beat it or whatever. I literally took it home that night, played 6 to 8 hours and beat the whole ass thing and brought it back the next day.
Gosh.
It was like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Like we expect more now.
Yes.
We expect our money's worth.
No, I understand expecting the challenge. I just meant like some of these games have a high degree of difficulty. Like
yes.
Yeah.
And
you cannot
I think there was a pocket of years. Yeah. I think there was a pocket of years where, they had to soften the blow of gaming because if you died too much, people just quit and they stopped playing it or they just returned it and whatever. So I'm just saying, I'm interested to see that era of gaming was like, you are fighting through the difficulty, not that you are fighting through it. You are trying to conquer it. I love that part of gaming is coming back. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying like the development aspects of it or like the capabilities. No. I'm just thinking it's interesting that we tailor to the no. Everybody has to be able to beat it. No. Everybody needs to be able to like play this game successfully. It's like no, like now there's bosses in these games that are fucking impossible.
Yeah, I think Daryl. I think what you're describing is the single player version of sweat culture from like Call of Duty. Essentially,
you're not wrong.
People have gotten so good at it, right? Like you can only make the controls so complicated, or else the game just doesn't work. And people have kind of conquered how that works with the technology, and so I think that's also part of it. Is just like, well, people expect more because just doing the basics isn't enough anymore.
Yeah,
right. Like you're saying.
Well, fuck. I mean,
go play cozy games on Switch.
Daryl and I did the final boss in Strangers of Paradise, and let me tell you,
that was tough.
That might be one of the hardest boss fights I've ever fought in a game.
That and Millennium are like the wildest things I've ever. And that is within the last 2 years. I was like, wow, I have not had this much difficulty with the boss. Yeah.
And I mean, I think this is probably another episode down the line, but like, I would much rather that in my games than fluff.
Easy mode.
And the example I'll use is Assassin's Creed Valhalla being like 120 hours to finish that game when it should only be 60 hours.
Yeah, just no challenge, just like hourly content, not.
Yeah, like I don't need 900 fetch quests or like go hunt this animal and get 5 skins from a pig and bring it back to me. I don't need that shit. Nobody does. Nobody likes fetch quests.
The mass extinction,
World of Warcraft,
the mass extinction event that Aloy herself causes in Horizon by needing all the pelts and shit to upgrade your gear.
Oh yeah,
yeah, exactly. So yeah, like I would much rather games be difficult as a way to like extend the lifespan of it. I think that's more rewarding if you die 8 times and you finally beat the boss.
I think there's a line. Like I think that there is like this is unachievable for the average gamer. This is impossible. Why are we making this so difficult at such an extreme? Or like the you can't get hit by this boss at all fight is dumb to me. Like no matter how much you grind out or try to like over level yourself to be able to do that, like if there's always that mechanic, it's like, okay, fuck you, like this is dumb. But the like make it challenging, make it harder, and like, you know, get some clout for finishing it.
So right. I think at this point you all should receive clout for finishing this episode.
Are you saying this was a difficult episode to get through?
We like to make things difficult, you know.
We like to get off track.
Yeah. We dove into a different side of games, you know, and sort of gave our opinions and reasoning for why we think this whole genre has been so successful. And I hope that games and studios continue to follow the route of Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3 and Remnant. Cut out the microtransactions, release a fully formed game, give the people what they want.
Give the people.
Jalen Rose.
All right, Kyle. We need a score. I need a score.
Yeah, Remnant scores.
I'm going to give it like an 8.5 to a 9. The only thing that would bump it up for me is the dodge button is X instead of O.
Can you not change it?
That has
not mappable, which is
you
a problem.
cannot change it.
Yeah, that's a problem.
It fucks me up every time.
I feel like they'll patch that eventually.
I was in the middle of fights and I'm like ducking instead of rolling.
That's fair.
Jordan, yours?
9.5 for me.
Ooh, very high.
It's going to be a game that I'm going to think about. I'm going to think about this game for a while. And I secretly hope that they do DLC expansions like they did with the first one. Because I would absolutely come back to this game and play new worlds and a new story. I take a half point off for the story. This game does not have a great story. It's nonsense. I couldn't tell you what's happening hardly. I got like the cliff notes of it. So
it's a game you need a wiki for.
Yeah. So that knocks it down for me. But yeah, I'm at a 9.5 out of 10.
And I'm seriously considering buying this right after this episode.
When my TikTok fills up with clips of Remnant and Baldur's Gate, you know it's on my mind.
And Elden Ring.
And
This game was one of the most played games on Steam when it launched. So that's I love that.
This and Baldur's Gate.
As an indie developer, I love that it's one of Steam's most played games right now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
I'm Dark Souled.
Just look out for Baldgate coming to an Instagram page near you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we got
going to put an Elden Ring on it?
Oh yeah, you know it. I'm going to Elden Ring the bell.
All right. I think that about wraps it up, guys. I would say that's good enough.
It's good enough.
That's good enough.
Good enough.
Good enough.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for more content. We also invite you to write an email or join us on Discord to talk about anything from our episodes or something else you would like to discuss in the future. Please subscribe to the Good Enough Gaming Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you listen to your podcasts. And remember, we might not be great, but we are good enough.